Hello and welcome to the first, potentially only episode of In the Kitchen with Justine. So today I am going to be making some cinnamon buns. I have never made cinnamon buns before, so let's do this thing together. I'm going to be making a recipe by the Minimalist Baker, the world's easiest cinnamon rolls. There's only 7 ingredients. Looks like I can be eating these buns within 2 hours, which is not bad for buns. Let's get started with the dough. So it looks like I need 3 tablespoons of vegan butter or margarine or whatever you choose. So I'm just gonna pop that onto the saucepan here. So 3 tablespoons of the vegan butter. And we are putting the vegan butter in a saucepan with 1 cup of alternative milk. So the recipe calls for unsweetened plain almond milk. I'm going to use oat milk because I'm a huge fan of my oats. So let's pop that in here. And I think we're just going to be mixing these together until melted. So I'm just gonna stir up on my pot here. So while we're letting that melt, okay, actually I can't do anything while waiting for that. That is, I need to wait for that, so. All right, so now that we have our milk and butter mixture melted at a nice tepid bath water temperature, we can now add in the yeast. I've never used yeast before. I have some license. My mom gave me this last summer when I had expressed interest in baking bread, which I did not do. It's important for the liquid mixture to not be too hot because apparently it will kill the yeast. All right, so 2 and 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Oh baby, okay, I have let this yeast activate for 10 minutes and now I'm about to add my 1 tablespoon of sugar and my 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm getting pretty excited because this is smelling really yeasty. The yeasty boys! Okay, so it smells really yeasty. This is kind of exhilarating for me. So I'm gonna add my sugar and my salt. All right, so I'm going to stir them together. Oh, it smells like bread, baby. Now we are going to be adding in our all-purpose flour, a 1/2 cup at a time, stirring as we go. So apparently we may not add all to create our little dough ball. So let's just add and keep stirring and see what we get. Got my flour here. Do it Justine can. I'm gonna cut the cameras because I think it's just gonna be rolling for like 10 minutes of me just incorporating this flour. So I have a liquidy mixture right now. Hopefully with the power of movie magic, by the time I come back, I will have a fully formed dough ball. I've been stirring and incorporating the flour into the mixture, and now we have a nice little loose dough ball. I know, as I mentioned before, they said we might not use all of the flour. I actually have quite a lot of flour left. From the suggested, or from the 3 cups initially recommended. So I think I have like a full cup left, but alas. So the next step is to transfer this bebe to a lightly floured surface, which will be my counter, and knead it until it forms a loose ball. It already kind of looks like a loose ball to me. So knead it for about a minute or so until it forms a loose ball. Be careful not to overmix. So after I do this, I'm supposed to rinse this mixing bowl out, lightly coat it with some oil, and pop the dough ball back in. I'm gonna get a Justine can here. I think this looks like a mighty fine loose ball to me. Oh, it's really gelatinous. I'm really squishy and I really want to bite it really badly. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my mixing bowl out and add the oil in. I'm gonna use my Scrub Daddy to get off any crusty remnants. Just gonna add a splash of oil to the bowl as recommended. So lightly coating it. Pop the baby back in the bowl. And it says to cover it with plastic wrap and set in a warm place to rise for about 1 hour or until doubled in size. So I don't actually own or buy plastic wrap. I have some plastic wrap remnants that I have saved along my travels. So this is from a like a sandwich wrap that I had when we had a catering at work one day. And it was just wrapped in such a large amount of plastic that I just saved this piece of plastic. And I found this in my drawer right now. I'm just gonna cover the bowl with this piece of plastic. Otherwise, I would have just used a cloth or something. I'm not sure if that is like the recommended thing to do if you don't have plastic wrap. If anyone has experience, making dough rise without plastic wrap, please let me know in the comments so I can see if I can just use a towel or a beeswax wrap or something in the future. Oh, that's a wrap, baby. We're gonna let this sit for an hour and hopefully we'll be delighted with a growing, doubling in size baby. I'm back. I left dough baby to rise for actually about an hour and a half, and baby's more than doubled in size. I'm very excited. Oh, it's just so squishy. It's just really exciting. It's so squishy, it's so yeasty. I'm stoked. The next step is to, on a lightly floured surface, we are gonna roll it out. So on a lightly floured surface, roll out the dough into a thin rectangle. Brush with melted vegan butter and top with sugar and desired amount of cinnamon. I'm currently melting down 3 tablespoons of the butter, which I am going to brush onto dough baby. I'm cutting out the rolling pin and I'm going to roll my dough into a nice rectangle. Oops. It says thin rectangle, it doesn't actually say how thin it should be. But I think I'm gonna go with about maybe a half centimeter thin. So now that my vegan butter is melted, I'm going to brush it onto the little rectangle that I've made. Now I didn't make a very even rectangle. Hopefully, like, it's kind of wobbly on the edges, but hopefully it still works. So I don't actually have a brush for this. It'd be great if I did. Maybe I'll attempt using a spatula or something and just kind of smearing it across. And we are going to add our sugar. It also says to use a half tablespoon to a tablespoon of ground cinnamon. I think I'm gonna like it a bit more cinnamony, so I will use that full tablespoon. I'm gonna try to make this a bit more evenly spread out. So the next step is to roll it up. So starting at one end, tightly roll up the dough and situate seam side down. Then with a serrated knife or a string of floss, cut the dough into 1.5 to 2 inch sections and position in a square or comparable round pan. So using this serrated knife, I'm going to cut it into about 10 pieces. Slice it through. I'm just going to coat my little baking tray with a little bit of oil just so it doesn't stick. It doesn't actually say this in the steps in the recipe, but I feel like this would be a safe thing to do. So now I just position these in the tray. This one's filled. I feel like this tray is not actually big enough, so I'm gonna do 2 trays. So the next step is to let them sit for a little bit again and let them rise again while I preheat the oven. So the oven is going to be preheated to 350 degrees Celsius. And once the oven is hot, bake rolls for 25 to 30 minutes or until slightly golden brown. Let cool for a few minutes and then serve immediately. So there's an optional cream cheese frosting. I might make it. We'll see. But other than that, I think we're pretty much ready to go. So the next time that I see you, these buns are out of the oven and into my belly. See you in a little bit. After about 30 minutes, these puppies are done. These are my favorite cow oven mitts as well. I have a lot of cow paraphernalia, if you do not know already. Oh, they smell amazing. Oh my God, I'm quite delighted. I took a little bite of one of the ones in the other tray. So good, so good. I'm really happy with myself. I think that this was a super fun, super easy activity to do on a rainy day as it is today. And I can't wait to do more baking and more cooking and maybe share it with y'all if there is an episode 2 of In the Kitchen with Justine. So thank you so much for joining me, and please let me know if you try out this recipe or if you have like suggestions for easy vegetarian recipes for me. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!